And welcome to the last day of week 1 here in the LEC Winter Playoffs. We had an amazing weekend of games, and I hope that today is going to deliver again as we see Vitality getting in the studio. And of course, I'm waiting for the BDS entrance. Okay, what have they cooked for us this time around? Just chilling on their Segway, entering the studio. And ready for a banger fight because Vitality surprised everyone yesterday, as we're going to talk about soon. I'm Laure, and I'm going to be with Treats and Aragon for today's pre-show. And Aragon, I'm going to let you talk first. You haven't been with us for the whole week. What was your first impression of the playoffs so far? I just mentioned Vitality upsetting, but what was the highlights for you this weekend?
Yeah, I had the pleasure of just watching all the chaos unfold.
Amazing.
Just sitting back and seeing pentaflexes and 50-minute bangers. No, I had a great time.
Vitality, Fnatic yesterday. Fnatic with the most Fnatic Mad Lion-esque ending of the game. It's becoming a habit between the two teams.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think there's just something in the Fnatic blood. They have to go for these 40-minute banger games, right? They just can't have kind of a normal 25-minute game, so maybe we'll see more of that today, who knows?
Yeah, I want to recap a bit what the Vitality game that we had, because Aragon, you were not with us yesterday, but we've been talking about the fact that Vitality, you can expect everything but mostly chaos from them. And what we saw yesterday was nothing but chaos.
Yeah, I mean, every time I see clips of this, or whilst I was watching it at least, I just kept feeling bad for Super. I think this was the hardest Xayah game I have ever seen in my life, with all the range going on, just the pure, I think Draco said, artillery battle. But in the end, it came down to a massive 50-minute slugfest, triple Elder Drake and triple Barons.
That was crazy, yeah. I mean, it went super long. No one when we were watching the green room, we were like, how is this going to end? We had no clue. In the end, I guess the more poke won, so yeah, congrats to Fnatic.
Yeah, congrats to Fnatic, honestly, but props also for Mad Lions for trying the difficult compositions that they've been trying so far. It's not easy when you're a set of rookies like this to just try stuff on the Rift, especially against a team like Fnatic, who's way more experienced than them. But when you look at the bracket like this, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, does it say a lot about the strength of the team that we have?
I mean, I think that Vitality, obviously, with their upset against SK, was kind of the big shocker from yesterday. And obviously, coming into today, I think now that the teams have gone the 2-0s out of the system, I don't think we're going to see that today.
Aragon, we haven't seen your tier list so far, and I know that all of you guys did one ahead of the split. We want to check how you're doing. Are you confident in the fact that...
So parts of it are going to be a little embarrassing, and I think a lot of people had BDS low as well. So I'll take that on the chin. You know, I had BDS way too low. I don't even know why I put them there, but Vitality I'm proud of. And a big reason for that is because I thought they had great individual pieces, as well as a fantastic coaching staff that could bring them all together in Mac and Pad, as well as Candy Floss X is his old name.
Carter.
There you go.
I mean, we're going to talk about Vitality a bit later, but so far, great start, honestly, on the LEC. And in the playoffs especially, we had a new patch. Also, 14.2, a lot of new things in the jungle, especially with some fire treats.
Definitely. I think the brand has surprised me a lot. This champ was very strong even on the last patch, but no one kind of played him. So it's interesting to see how he got picked up now in playoffs and has won 3 out of the 4 games that has been played so far. And I think he can be played without kind of having this AD mid laners, and I'm interested to see if someone will do it today, but he just looks like a big threat in teamfights, right? Even if you can shut him down early game, if he gets his items and gets rolling later, he will be a massive threat in teamfights.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of misdrafts though involving him. I think definitely, unlike MDK, you need to have some kind of beefy frontline to be able to have Brand cast multiple rotations of spells, have a support who's more melee and tanky so that you can actually have someone to face check with you and drop wards down. Because if you have, for example, MDK's draft where you have Rakan, squishy top lane, Brand really struggles. Brand really struggles to play.
And I feel like teams have not been drafting it like this all the time, honestly, and maybe sometimes it's... we saw in the case of Mad Lions, for instance, yesterday, maybe lacking some engage and follow-up, but look at this Vitality comp.
This Vitality comp I thought was really nice. Obviously, the Lee Sin into the Akali ended up being into Illusion, so it was a bit trickier, but this is a perfect brand draft, I would say. He has a bunch of tanky champs behind him, and there's just a lot of fighters that kind of make the job easier for him in teamfights, so this was a perfect brand example, I would say.
Yeah, and on top of that, the team enabled the brand too, right? I really want to shout out Kazi and Hillisang. Absolutely absolutely dumpstering Exakick in the bot side with spacing, as well as just finding consistent plays to pop summoners to make Douglas and Vetio's life really easy in the mid to bot plays.
What about the flex picks? Because honestly, here it's easy to read because we know exactly who went where. But drafting and looking at this yesterday, trees were like, okay, what have they been cooking, and is it going to be a good food?
I mean, you never know if it's going to be good, right? This was a pretty good cooking, I would say, personally. I like the thought process of the Lee into Rakali. You can kind of reveal her in the Shroud, and then obviously G2 had a bunch of crazy flex picks too, so the drafts have been interesting and the games have been interesting, and I hope that the teams keep it up.
I've been wondering if teams can cook more flex picks like this. What's your read on the meta so far and how much we can expand and be creative, Aragon?
I think everyone's still sort of figuring it out because for some reason Riot have decided, you know, we want to change the game completely every single patch this year. And because of that, I think we're going to get wild and wacky picks every single week when a patch drops. I think it will slowly tone down when people realize what setup bans you need for what and what conditions you need to draft in certain ways. But overall, I expect to still see wacky plays today.
And I love what Vitality prepped for us yesterday. And I know that Healy sang in the interview was saying we have more, we should have more. And I hope they do because they're going to face off against one of the best teams we have in the league right now in the likes of BDS. But Vitality, night and day treats compared to what we've been seeing from them in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, me and Broxah were kind of flaming them before their series yesterday against SK. And I think it was impressive to see kind of the aggression and the discipline that they had in mid-game. I think a lot of the times they've had okay early games, but then mid-game fights come and they look a bit like uncoordinated. But I think yesterday it looked very clean from them, and they had two very, very solid games against SK.
Yeah, I had massive belief in this roster from the start. Even though, you know, they kept doing badly and then well and then badly and then well, I spoke to Pad, their strategic coach, and he kept saying to me, please believe in me, because we are so good when it comes to hands diff, especially in team fights. We just keep fumbling the early game, and once we sort that out, we are going to be a fantastic team, and I think they showed it yesterday.
I always expect Mac and Pad to add some discipline in the teams that they've been coaching, but I saw that Vitio yesterday tweeted, I was not expecting this. I think none of the players expecting them to play so well against SK especially. And I know that later on in his stream, he was like, we've been progressing fast, but maybe we didn't realize how good we were getting. And I'm just wondering, is it going to help them today? Because you want to grab this momentum early on in playoff streets.
Yeah, momentum is a massive thing in playoffs. I think a regular season can go up and down, but if you start 2-0 like they did Vitality, the momentum is on their side, right? And I think the confidence it brings, it's just massive. And sometimes we've seen teams that are really fumbling in regular season and then they just go up and up and up in playoffs and end up kind of winning the entire split as well. So it will be super interesting to see if Vitality can keep the momentum now going into the next series as well.
And amazing to see the bot lane stabilize also.
Yeah.
We'll see if that's the case today, but Carzzy had an amazing performance yesterday. So let's see what he had to say ahead of today's series.
Thank you so much, Laura. We have Carzzy here ready for an interview ahead of your matchup against BDS. Yesterday was an incredible performance from yourself during that series. So talk us a little bit through the preparation that went into that and what allowed you to excel so much.
So I think we've put a lot of effort into playing better macro during our scrims this week. And I think everyone worked really hard. And then it showed on stage, luckily, because usually even if teams have a good practice, it's for some teams hard to show up on stage when it really matters. So I'm really happy about how we played. And it was a lot easier for me to play the game as well, since we played smart and slow as a team.
Is that what you prefer as an AD carry, just having the team play a little slower, a little...
I mean, it depends on the champions, but usually like it's better to play slow and let the enemies make mistakes first, especially in EU. So.
Okay, especially in EU. Okay, respect. Now, your next game is going to be going up against BDS, another French organization that you potentially could be taking down. How are you feeling about that one? Are you nervous? Do you think what we've seen yesterday, we'll be seeing it again today?
I mean, I'm not really nervous. I think they're playing quite well right now, but I think the only good team in EU is G2 right now.
Okay.
And I think everyone else is perfectly beatable for us.
Is there anything particular that you're looking at from the side of BDS that you think that's exploitable?
I mean, I think that sometimes they are way too fast at like contesting neutral objectives. So we will see how we'll punish that.
Slow and steady wins the game. Thank you so much for the interview, Carzzy. Laure, back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ginny. Great to hear from iPad. Great to hear from Carzy. A sleepy Carzy, honestly. I don't know him like this.
I think he just woke up, surely.
Yeah.
I've never seen him that low energy and that chill before in my life.
But honestly, great job from the Vitality bot lane once again. If I just can add one point about this, it's for me consistency. Carzy, Hylissang, you never know what side of the coin you're gonna have. Aragon today, any expectations on this side? Not predictions yet, but from the bot lane only.
I think it's great watching Hylissang. He always loves to play on the edge, right?
Yeah.
He always says, can we bait out this spell? Can I test the limits here? I absolutely love that. But expectations? I think we might be in for some upsets, potentially. No predictions, but I really like how Vitality played yesterday.
I mean, it's tricky because you have this whole momentum that maybe Vitality grabbed yesterday against SK, who was, I want to remind it, one of the most methodical teams we had in the league. Can Vitality do it again today against BDS, who is one of the best teams, the top teams we have right now in the LEC?
Yeah, it's really hard to predict because I feel like Vitality comes in with this momentum, as you said, but also BDS, obviously, they're kind of, I would say they're a bit SK 2.0 in a way. I think they also play very consistent, and I think they had the edge that kind of SK didn't have yesterday. So for me, I would still say BDS is a bit favored in this matchup, but I do like what Vitality cooked yesterday, and especially on bot side, even if they didn't have the overall carry consistent performance, they played super well, and they had kind of the push in bot lane, which I think will be important today.
I think their longevity as a team has shown in their team fights. Every single time it comes to third dragon, if they're behind, if they're ahead, they always find absolutely banger engages with really easy to execute drafts. Stuff like the Virel, stuff like Ori ball delivery. It's always incredibly easy, so shout out to the drafting, as well as the execution in those team fights.
How do you think the mid lane matchup is going to go when you go a bit more in depth? Because we saw VTO yesterday shining with the Lee Sin, the Yone, bringing the confidence. What do you want to see from VTO? But on the other side of this French mid lane matchup, which I really like, you have Nuke. Nuke, it doesn't feel the same purpose in this team, I feel.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of like, he doesn't have to be the enabler. I think he can kind of soak a lot of pressure. I think something that Nisqy does well is if he gets the lead, he can kind of roam around. But I think Nuke, on the other hand, he's had a stellar performance so far in playoffs, and I think he's kind of better at absorbing pressure than Nisqy, so might be trickier for VTO to have this kind of banger performance that he did yesterday.
I mean, he said it on social media. He was like, well, bringing the Lee Sin again, I'm going to hit you with Malphite. But I'm not used to seeing Nuke playing this kind of champions.
Yeah, no, you typically see Nuke on these Orianna Azirs, which I really wonder how Vitality are going to deal with. Do you ban the Orianna? Because they're so consistent with the Orianna ball delivery. Azir's almost always banned against him, and you never really see him off of anything else, so it'll be interesting to see what he pulls out against VTO.
Do you want to venture some predictions here, maybe? I know that I threw you guys under the bus yesterday, and I think that everybody was betting against Vitality, rightfully so, but would you do the same again today, knowing how well they performed yesterday? Predictions and why?
I think I'm going to go with a 2-0 Vitality. I'm just going to send it. I think, you know, they got the momentum like you're highlighting, and I absolutely believe they're spiking at the right point.
I mean, I can't say that I think Vitality is going to win. I think they're going to have a better performance than I expected them yesterday, because now I kind of see what they're cooking, right? I see what they're coming with, so I would say 2-1 for BDS, but I think Vitality has a lot of pressure coming into today.
In that sense, BDS had time to look at Vitality and watch Vitality yesterday, and maybe what they've been practicing. Do you think that Vitality has more in store? I know that Hylissang said so, but do you see them as a team that can cook something different every day with the meta they have right now, Aragon?
The thing is, I don't think they need to. I think their style inherently counters BDS because of how well they're playing through bot side right now with BDS, Ice and Lebrov not doing so hot. I think they can absolutely exploit that as an advantage rather than having to cook something new.
Yeah, I think that's a solid point. I mean, the BDS bot lane, they haven't really looked super good in lane, I would say. I think they have a lot of impact on the map, but lane specifically, I do agree Vitality has a slight edge.
All right, well, let's find out right now, because it's time to kick off the action with BDS and Vitality with my favorite new combo for the LEC casters, Hysterious. Back to you.
Oh, yeah, it is Hysterious, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back.